Hi, and welcome to our live product demo about global content modules. This feature is definitely in huge demand. A lot of people are asking our support team, our customer success managers, specifically about setting up their global content modules. So I'm excited to now have the ability for you to learn more about it, see it in action, and get an understanding of what you can use it for, or maybe even what more you can use it for, in case you're already in the process of implementing them. We have two guest speakers today. The first is Veronica Lane. She's a senior customer success manager out of the US, starting up her day right into this live demo. And then we have Joran, who is the product owner who has developed this specific feature and can show us around and tell us a lot about it. Towards the end, we'll have space and time to answer your questions. So if you have anything that you hear today that you're unsure about, that is unclear, maybe you have some doubts or you just want to discuss your situation, let us know in the chat. Marina is answering the chat questions, so feel free to just throw all your comments and questions in there. If we don't have time, we will get back to you afterwards. And then for right now, we just welcome Veronica, Joran, fantastic for taking time out of your day to be here, and also you as our online audience. Thank you for being here. Veronica, as a customer success manager, you talk to a lot of our customers every day and week after week. What do you kind of hear as being a hot topic that everyone talks about and asks about?
Yeah, so there's been a big shift recently with talking about content management. So as we see people creating lots of documents, creating more content across different regions, different teams, they're looking for better ways to organize that content, govern that content, and really have those streamlined workflows. So a big theme with that is modules. So really being able to reuse content and make sure that there's that standardized messaging, standardized design, and really improves the collaboration across those departments. So yeah, just really improving the scalability of it and making sure that you're not sacrificing the quality or the control of who is putting that content in.
Wonderful. Yeah, fantastic. And indeed, we're talking about global content modules today. What would be like a signal or an indication that you see in your accounts or your customers when you would say, oh, global content modules would be really useful for you? When would you recommend your customer to use them?
Yeah, so really a trigger to bring up global content modules is when I hear that they're updating a lot of documents and it's a real manual process. So if you're just wasting time basically making those small edits across multiple documents for the same edits, that's really where global content modules will come in. So really just saving time and ensuring that there's governance across that repeated content.
Nice. Yeah, so governance is definitely something that can be achieved by implementing them well. Can you share an example of a customer who has started to use global content modules and you see a huge benefit to them?
Yeah, so one of the customers that I have works in the insurance space, and they've actually been using global content modules for their resource pages. So with that, they're basically able to add more forms, more resources within that section so that wherever that's applied for whatever client that they're working with, across hundreds of documents, they can have those consistent resources as more resources develop, as more forms change. So as it gets updated from 2024 forms to 2025 forms, it really saves them time as years go on and they continue to have that consistent content.
That's great. And of course, we've mentioned global content modules or just simplified modules already quite a few times. Could you maybe share what they are for those of us that don't know that?
Yeah, so overall for me, I would describe global content modules as linked content. So anywhere that you have one section of content that's going to be reused, you can update it in one place, and then it gets populated throughout the rest of the documents where that content basically lives.
That's great. That sounds like a simplified way of what it could actually be. So it's, is it then just a block on a page, or can it be also multiple blocks and even overlays?
Yeah, good question. So it can be multiple blocks. So you could technically save out a full page of several blocks, and that would count as one module. So in that instance of that resources page, that's how they did it, through multiple blocks saved into one module.
Great. And can you give a few specific examples of content that you might want to place in a global content module?
Yeah, so footers is a big one, kind of those legal disclaimers. You might have pricing that's really good to have in a module so that that stays consistent with your offerings. There's really a bunch of different ways that you could use modules.
Yeah, so as we see here on the slide, Foleon's modules handle complex interconnected elements. So it can be a whole lot more than just the footer. Pretty exciting. I see a lot of potential, basically just in making my work easier. No need to update a lot of different places anymore. Fantastic. Sure. Veronica, thank you so much. I'm going to have Joran join the conversation. Joran, what's the #1 problem that you've tried to solve by developing global content modules?
Yeah, good question. I think that Veronica already covered a lot of ground there, but for us from the product team perspective, we always approach it from, okay, what is the biggest pain point? And luckily, we have a lot of customers who have not 10 or 20 or 50 docs, but literally sometimes hundreds of Foleon docs. And how do you make sure that if you need one central piece of block or one piece of content that you need to change across all those docs, obviously that's going to be very difficult when you have hundreds of Foleon docs. And that's the main problem we wanted to solve. And we're very happy that with modules, we are solving that problem.
Fantastic. Well, anyone online, please drop your questions in the chat. Marina is there to answer them. Joran, can you show us around global content modules?
Yes, and I will share my screen now.
That's amazing.
There we go. So now you should see the Foleon editor, which should be, something you all know, hopefully. In this use case, I'm working as a consulting firm, and we have a lot of sales proposals. We have a lot of sales brochures we send out, and we have this block here, which contains some plans and pricing information. And this is actually content that I want to transform into a module. So what can I do? I go here to the block. I say save as module. The module name, I will call it plans and pricing. I'm going to skip the category for now. I'm going to save it, and then almost instantly you'll see that your module has been created. Click here to go to the module editor. So once I click it, I will open the module editor. But before I show you how that works, I'm going to go to the dashboard. I'm going to refresh here, and I see here that I have 4 out of 5 modules. And here in the dashboard on the modules page, you can actually see all the modules you have and are able to manage it. And we see that the one I just created is now still in draft status. So let's go back to the module, right? And now we have one block, but actually, as Veronica also already mentioned, it is possible to add multiple blocks to one module. And how do you do that? You simply go to blocks. I already pre-saved a few templates here. I want to add this to the top, and then I want to add some contact information to the bottom here. So now, as you can see, this module consists of 3 blocks. So the top one here, the middle, which is the main pricing information, and then the bottom. The next step is to make it public, because once you make it public, it will be available for use for everyone in your workspace to start using it on the canvas, so in a Foleon doc, because the whole module editor is only available to admins and designers. So that's something to be aware of. So I'm going to click Make Public. And once you make it public, it will be available for use in Foleon Docs. So I'm going to do that. Indeed, I see the message, your module is now public and available for use in Foleon Docs. And here I can now update and not make public. So the next step is I want to use it in an actual Foleon Doc. I have the Our Services doc here. And on this page, I actually want to add in the module that we just created. So in the left-hand side, I go to modules and I see where we have it here. The plans and pricing I just created, I want to add in between here. And once I hover over it, I can see that this content has been set as a module, so you can't edit any content and styling. And it includes the 1, 2, 3 blocks that I added into the module. And I can't change it here in the Foleon doc, which actually gives you a lot of governance as admin and designer, because you can't really change this. And this will be the case for every Foleon doc in which you add the module. We're now going to republish this, because the first time that you add a module to a Foleon doc, you'll need to make sure that it's actually in the live version. So here we do need to republish. And as you know, sometimes republishing, it will just take a few seconds. So let's wait and see how long it will take during this live product demo. There we go. Perfect timing. So now I've added it to one Foleon doc, but we need to think, okay, what if in 6 months from now, we've used this module in 20 or 30 or 40 Foleon docs? Well, how are we going to make sure that we then update it in one place to see what happens then? And first, I'm going to show you what this looks like in the Our Services page. So here we see that this is the module we added to the Foleon doc. There's no difference in other content. It will not be visible that this is a module, not just a quote-unquote normal block. But what if we want to change something now? Well, I go back to the module editor. So here, after a few months, I've decided, well, we've gotten some feedback that this is not very personal. So we want to change this image here. I go to replace image, and I want to include an image here of one of the salespeople we have working. I select it. In addition to that, we have made some changes with the strategy team, and we've decided that instead of getting 5 consulting hours, you'll get 10. Instead of 20 consulting hours, you'll get 30. There we go. And instead of calling it Premier, we're going to go with Enterprise. There we go. And then I need to make sure that I update this. So when I click Update, I can already see that there is a Foleon asset that uses this module. That's what we were just showing. I'm going to click Update, and then your module has been updated. Now, when I go back to the Foleon doc that I was just showing in the live version, and when I refresh, you'll see that the changes I've made in the module editor from 5 to 10, from 20 to 30, to Enterprise, to the image. Let me see if I can refresh again. Okay, normally the image would be here, but maybe it's taken a few more seconds because it's an image. Luckily, the text here has changed. So now you've seen a change for one Foleon doc, but actually this will work for 5 to 10 to 20 Foleon docs. Doesn't really matter how many. And in this way, you can make sure that you make one change in a central location and push it to all those Foleon docs where you have that module in. So I hope that this was a very clear demo, and I'm curious if any questions have arisen in the meantime.
Thank you so much, Joran. Yeah, it's nice to see activity in the chat. There are a few questions that were answered by Marina as well, but I saw a question by Sruti. Thank you for asking your questions. She had multiple, but I'm going to highlight 2. So the first one was, if a global content module is updated, is there a way to republish all brochures in one click?
Yes, and that's just what I was showing, right? So you don't even need to republish every single Foleon doc. As long as the module is in there the first time and you republish, after that, every time you make an update, it will republish automatically.
Yeah, so Shruti, if you are placing a module in a Foleon doc, you do need to republish, but once the module is there, republishing isn't needed. Changes are being made from the module editor.
Yeah, indeed. And maybe good to add, it is because we only refresh that module without having to republish the whole Foleon doc, which is a bit more of a dynamic approach to republishing your content. So that's why you don't need to click that republish button.
Great. And there are follow-up questions from Camille and Mary Jack. So Camille is saying, so do you need to republish all docs when you do an update on a module? And Mary Jack is seconding that question.
Yeah, when you put it in there the first time, yes, because our system kind of needs to know that you're placing new content in a Foleon doc, which makes sense, right? But after that, once you decide to update it, then it's no longer needed to republish. In the beginning now, for example, let's say you already have a footer template and you're transforming that into a module. Well, then that does require some change management because our system is not able to detect that this footer template has been used in many different Foleon docs. But as soon as you have that going, then it's super easy to make sure that you push those updates to all those Foleon docs.
Yeah, and that immediately touches on the value of global content module in multiple ways. Definitely a time saver, because if you have a global content module of a piece of content that you know you need to update every now and again, and it's being used in multiple Foleon docs, then you don't need to update multiple Foleon docs, but you just update the module once. And when you update the module, you do see a list of which Foleon docs have that global module in it, so you know which docs are then automatically updated with that latest content. Great. Another question that I wanted to touch on is the last question that Shruti asked. Is it possible to save a page as a module? We have content scenarios where certain pages should be added to each brochure. And Marina already added that pages aren't possible, but I thought maybe you know a workaround there or a way to make this possible.
Yeah, so at the moment, the quickest way is to save content as a template, because indeed it's not possible. But I have some good news, right? We're still in the beta phase, and there's 2 improvements that I've seen mentioned in the chat that we're now actually building as we speak, and which are assumed to be released somewhere mid-June, which is number 1, copy to clipboard, which will make it much easier in between normal docs and the module editor to drag in those clipboard modules or blocks that you've saved. Number 2, it will also be possible to save a complete page as a module. This doesn't mean that we're kind of rolling out page modules, but it's simply saving that collection of blocks to jumpstart creation. So you can expect that in roughly 1 month. And it will make the whole process a bit quicker.
Fantastic. That is better news than I even expected, because in the meantime, you can probably just start a new page, include a module that may be multiple blocks, and you're probably at the same, having the same result, right?
Yeah, exactly. It would be the same result, but yeah, it would go a bit slower. So that's why having a copy to clipboard and saving a page will speed up creation for sure.
Fantastic. Yeah, and both are being asked about in the chat, so that is amazing. Also, I saw a question by Camille about how to save multiple blocks into a module, which you showed so well in the demo. At the moment, I don't see any other unanswered questions, so please ask them if you have them. I do have a question myself, so I'll go there, and then I'll have a final check in the chat. So maybe just to clarify, who will be setting up these modules and who will be using the modules in their content creation?
Yeah, so the way that we've designed the governance for this feature is that admins and designers, so users with admin and designer role, can create the module, but then all creator user roles, so that's also the publisher and the editor, they can actually use the modules in the Foleon editor as well. So that's the very clear split that we've done there. I'm sorry, Locke. I think you're muted.
Thank you so much, Joran. Apologies.
No worries.
So I did just mention the speed of updating as being a great benefit of using global content modules, but that is not the only one. We see that customers that have started using global content modules, or the ones that have really been waiting for it and have been asking us for them, it's also a governance piece. So you have the assurance that the content that is being used in those modules is up to date, as long as, of course, you keep them up to date. But it's not that a document can be forgotten, or maybe something wrong might still be lingering if an update wasn't done correctly. So you have that governance piece, but also just that insurance from a compliance perspective.
Yeah,
So.
definitely. Yeah, and that's the thing. A good example is, for example, oh yeah, I'm head of a sales team, and I have maybe 20 sales reps, and you don't want them to be worrying about, oh, is this little price on page 6, is that still correct? No, you want to make sure that you have that control so that you don't allow them to make any mistakes if they would. And that level of governance, as someone who is in charge of that content management, as Veronica already mentioned before, that's something essential to this feature.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, Joran, Veronica, I'm going to bring you both back. I don't see any additional questions right now. So I want to thank you for sharing so openly about your customer and about why this has been developed and what it can be used for. Any final thoughts that we really want to highlight about global content modules? Oh, Veronica, I'm unmuting you. Would you mind repeating what you just said?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I was talking to someone yesterday and they were discussing how to also manage those modules. So it's good to note that you can also categorize modules as you would with blocks and your other sort of templatized content. So you can also keep that in mind when building that module library.
That's a great point. Yeah, and as a poll question, I just opened want to chat with your CSM about global content modules. Our customer success managers, like Veronica, are here as consultants. They help our customers understand their content strategies, the ways they work, and how Foleon fits into that. Global content modules might also be one that could be good to discuss with your customer success manager. So if you answer yes or maybe, we'll just get in touch with you and ensure we start those conversations. Veronica and Joran, final questions before we wrap this up by Camille. Why is the view for modules limited to 20 modules?
That's a very good question. So indeed, at the moment, for the different plans in Foleon, there are a few limits, especially during the beta phase, which means that on the scale plan, you have access to 3 modules. On the team plan, you have access to 5. And when you're on the enterprise plan, you have unlimited. Right? Modules, they take up more bandwidth of our platform than normal blocks, so to say, especially because they need to update across all those Foleon docs. That's why we had to set a functional limit. So if you notice that actually you need more modules than you think that you'll have right now, then it's a good idea to chat to your customer success manager about that.
Thank you so much, Joran. And indeed, the customer success manager is the point of contact, because they can also refer you to the account managers who will be able to inform you about additional modules or other plans. As a final thank you to you as our audience, it's been great to have you online. We do have another live product demo tomorrow, and we had one yesterday. We're in live product demo week, and it would be great to see you tomorrow as well. It's about 3-level governance. While governance isn't usually a hot topic, it is definitely very interesting to understand a way of working in Foleon with an admin console, brand console, and workspaces to really ensure quality, governance, and speed of creation within those workspaces. So join us tomorrow. Marina has shared the link in the chat, and we'll redirect you in a moment. And meet your customer success manager. And of course, tell your coworkers about global content modules. Thank you so much. Thank you, Joran and Veronica, as well. It's been great having you all online, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.